Let's see what's in my study drawers.
I have seen things. Things I just don't want to talk about.
You're the worst.
Things that only seem to frighten and offend most everybody. Welcome to my study. Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Rich Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. And we're live.
Hey there.
Welcome back to episode 2.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. I don't know who will have heard. We're in the pilot phase still, technically.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who heard the first episode,
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Definitely. And the second episode, you can also find us here again for another shot at it. It sounds like you had some thoughts about the first episode. Did you want to talk about what you thought about the first episode?
I did have some thoughts about the first episode. There are some things that we will be continuing to tweak as we work through getting this right. Definitely, we're going to shorten the time. We spoke on many topics, so I think we're going to try to stick to maybe one or two and keep going. We want to keep the episodes down to 45 minutes or so. But I had a good time.
Definitely.
I was amused, but we also want you guys to be amused and entertained and and all of that. So
you know what my secret is to amusing people?
Ooh.
It's just amuse myself. I genuinely look for what's going to make me laugh. So if you ever wonder, like, if you see me in a presentation or in a conversation where I'm being particularly witty, I've just decided to go out on a limb and amuse the heck out of myself.
True.
And if other people laugh, then good, I guess.
Otherwise, you're still laughing.
Yes. Otherwise, I'm still laughing. That's also the thing I use to teach with. Whenever I'm up in front of students, I'm just making myself laugh. Like, how do I make this information funny to me? And if it's crickets out there, it doesn't matter. I know I'm funny.
Yes. Very, very true. And you're quite the presenter. I am not interested in presenting or teaching or any of the things that you do, but you're very good at it. And this is supposed to be fun for us.
Yes.
Right. So if we're amused and we get to tell stories about each other and our kids and our friends, make fun of some good movies and bad movies, then that's kind of what we're going for. Just like you said in the first episode, it's like being at a dinner party with us. So that's
all
what
the
this
good
is
parts,
be.
Except for the parts where you get to interject. Hopefully you're at home playing along and you're interjecting like, wait. I want to talk about this subject for a minute.
Right.
Right. And it's like, nope, we're steamrolling through you. We're going to keep talking for the rest of this podcast.
Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want to say later.
Right. We'll loop back around. Please feel free to email us at our email address, the Hallspace Podcast
at
gmail.com. Currently, it's a Gmail address because they're free. And if you email us, we will talk about what you want to talk about a little bit.
Very true.
More often than not, if you're listening to us, you're having a passive experience wherein you just get to hear us steamroll through a dinner party conversation, hopefully with jokes and anecdotes.
Right.
And you're still interested. You haven't walked away yet to figure out what's at the buffet table.
Which is great.
You're going to stay with us.
And hang out a bit.
Yeah, we're just going to do this. We're going to do bits. And if you like the bits, clap, put some money in the hat. If you don't, feel free to continue shopping. We're some internet buskers is what we are. We do not have a permit.
We absolutely do not.
We just pulled up a little radio on the side street outside your house, and we're going to entertain. I'm going to juggle some fire later, and she's going to jump into this hat. Who wants to see her jump to this ring into this hat?
In the words of Victoria, boom.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. So yes, we are once again still in the pilot phase. So if you like, please do share and subscribe as you hear these episodes.
We also appreciate feedback.
We also do appreciate feedback.
Constructive feedback.
So do email us.
Let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Constructive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are going to think it's constructive no matter what. Nobody ever says to themselves, I'm about to give some non-constructive feedback. It's like, that's people. Like, I have thoughts about this. I'm going to say it out loud.
Well, I feel like, if you're going to give feedback and you say, this sucks, you know what that is? Not helpful.
Because nobody's making you listen to this, I don't think.
At all.
As far as I know, I'm not being played over the airwaves
No.
by a despot. So
we're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
And our family and our friends are going to listen to it.
That does make an interesting segue. What's this podcast for, Nicole Hall? We did not do the introductions. Oh, my God. We will loop back around and cut it in at the very beginning.
We will.
Maybe. But once again, Dr. Rich Hall and lovely and capable wife,
Nicole Hall.
There you go.
Lovely and capable.
Lovely and capable. Mm-hmm. I've stolen that. So I'll tell you briefly what that's about. Our friend and my mentor coming up as a psychologist is a talented psychologist, workaholic named Dr. John Thomas. Mm-hmm. And he has a radio show with his wife called Psychology and Law for Life. It was on WDBZ, The Buzz, for a while. I think it's on a different radio station now.
His wife, Leslie Thomas.
Leslie Thomas. Sorry, I didn't mean to pass her over. She's a very talented lawyer.
And capable.
Lovely and capable and talented lawyer in the city of Cincinnati.
Beautiful lady.
Beautiful lady. Beautiful couple. And like I said, have served as a mentor to me throughout my career. Much longer story there. In his radio show, he does open Psychology and Law for Life. I'm Dr. John Thomas and my lovely and capable wife. And we always thought,
stuck with us. Yeah.
For some reason, the fact that he presented her that way, I introduced Nicole to people. This is my lovely and capable wife, Nicole. And now that I have a podcast, I'm doing the exact same thing.
You're absolutely doing the exact same thing.
Opening with my lovely and capable wife, Nicole. And to answer the question, why this podcast, if you're wondering, I know you're sitting there thinking, why these idiots decide to do this thing?
Why?
We're trapped in the house.
Yeah.
With only ourselves to talk to.
Yep.
And here's the thing. I am terrible at phone calls. Like, I'm just not great. I don't give great phone. I don't
either.
Which is interesting because as a psychologist right now, I'm doing only teletherapy. And I will tell you, there are some people that is tough with because I'm just not good at phone small talk.
Yeah.
And so mostly this is a way to communicate thoughts and ideas to friends and family, much like my Facebook presence is. And other social media presence. It's just like I'm sharing jokes. I'm sharing content and details.
Anecdotes.
Just because I want to make the people in my life laugh and know that I'm thinking about them while at the same time not having to call anyone individually because I'm bad at that.
And this is an easy way for us to communicate to them.
Yeah.
In one fell swoop, basically.
Some things that we just won't remember. Back in the day, and I know this because this is another random aside. We're going to get a sound for Richie Tangents.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out what that sound is going to be.
We do.
But there's going to be a sound to let you know.
Richie
Tangents. I was going through my mail, through some boxes here as I was cleaning up the office due to being here for COVID. And I found a letter from some random white lady. Here's the thing. Letter wasn't addressed to me. So way back in the before time when I had an apartment to myself, someone sent a letter to my apartment that wasn't for me. It must have been for the previous occupant. And I opened it seeing, I committed a federal offense and opened someone else's mail.
That's illegal.
And then I kept it for what is now like 20 years.
That's super
worse. And they gave like this detailed account of like what had been happening for the past year. It was one of those Christmas cards. Like, this is what we've been to. And we went out of town to the Maldives and, they seem to have been living a really great life. And I think what happened then was I read this and was like, who lives like this? And in some ways in my head was like, I'll aspire to this. So I'll keep this little piece of someone else's life. These people whom I do not know. Handwritten letter. So it wasn't even typed. Handwritten letter. And recently came upon it as I was cleaning out the office and finally threw it away because I was like, what am I keeping this for?
Like 30 years later.
30 years later, I no longer have the resonance. Not 30, 20. I'm not that old. 20 years later, I no longer have the resonance for it that I did before. Like, oh, this means something to me. It doesn't. And so I threw it away. But what I'm saying here is this podcast is the equivalent of that letter. This is a love letter to people who just care enough about me and her to want to hear us talk to you for 45 minutes about funny things.
Yeah.
It's a long walk. I got there, though.
It is.
Long walk.
And it was a fascinating letter. And I think it is an interesting take on us being able to communicate with our family and our friends and kind of have a good time in these COVID times where no one can go anywhere.
Yes.
And so we really hope you enjoy. And if there are things that you would like to talk about or discuss,
send it to us.
Send it to us.
And also, I mean, there is another thing to be said for. I am a teacher, as Nicole said earlier in this conversation. I'm a teacher, so I like to present information and facts and ideas. And I keep remembering as I look through the social media that not everybody knows what I know.
Right.
Which, that's sort of the human condition. You acquire knowledge and skills and expertise, and hopefully it's useful to someone.
Right.
And so I will see things that people post or people talk about, and I'm like, oh, I know a bunch of stuff about that. I could talk about that for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Here we are. And me talking about things for maybe 45-ish minutes, 45 minutes to an hour.
You have a wealth of knowledge about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't realize that there are certain things that you have an intense passion for and that you study. I also have knowledge about a number of things.
I was going to say that. Don't undersell yourself, lady. Don't you for a second make these people think I'm the star of the show. It's called the Hallspace Podcast, but there are 2 halls.
There are 2 halls,
and she is not my. She will play second fiddle. There's a reason she can tolerate me. And that is because she can turn up her personality when she wants to.
I turn it up and then I can turn it down.
She prefers it down.
I prefer it down. But there are a number of things that I'm hesitant because, again, I went to school for computer science. I'm in IT, very technical, very logical, black and
she assumes no one cares.
People don't care.
It's the internet age.
They want you to do is to fix the problem for them.
Yes.
And oftentimes that's like a great privilege, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then other times I want to wear a shirt that says, no, I will not fix your computer. That's not necessarily
people assume hardware problems are software problems.
Exactly. And I do generalize what I do by saying I'm in IT. Very specifically, I'm a web developer. There are some things that I do, and there's a lot of things that I don't do, which is work with hardware. I had a little passion for it for a little while, but that's no longer what I do. My brother does, though. So he's also into building computers and fixing networks and things like that. Yeah. So I do have that wealth of knowledge. But most people, when you start talking about those things, their eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
And they kind of go to the simple, people, I have a virus. Can you fix it? So can you fix my computer?
That's always the thing with people. When you have an expertise, people don't want to get into the weeds with you about what you're talking about because they just don't have any frame of reference.
They don't.
For it. And I'll say that as me as a clinician, me as like, I know that I am, this will be totally clear to you after you hear a few of these episodes. I'm a hair autistic. Like there's a part of me that is 1, ADHD, cannot deny it. And 2, just a little bit like I just get into this intense detail oriented aspect of things. And suddenly I'm like, oh no, I'm going to talk for 45 minutes about this, whether you care about it or not.
So my job as your wife, as it has been for a while, is to kind of
20 years.
You up.
Yeah. Not my wife of 20 years, but definitely as my partner of 20 years, give or take.
Yep.
And someone who's been in my life for 25 years, I think.
We met in 19. Oh, this is a test. We met.
You can get it right.
We started dating in 1998.
Yes. And when did we meet?
We met in 1993.
Was it 93?
The summer of 93.
93, yes. Because I was going to say 96, but I'm getting the.
Nope.
No. We came back around in each other in 98. Yes. That's 93. Right. Yeah. So we've known each other for that long.
For a very long time.
Yeah. Known of each other, been aware of each other for a very long time.
Yeah. And that's another note that I'd like to make. We've known each other for that amount of time and there's still more to know.
Absolutely.
There's always still more to know.
Hopefully.
Because if you're growing and you're evolving, then... You know,
we are completely.
You're not the same person you were last year.
Yes, completely
You're definitely
different.
not the same person you were in 96 and 98 or 93 or, So we're different people. And one of the things that I think works for us is that we're kind of evolving together, not away, but together, which is good.
That's a big thing. A lot of couples evolve apart.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, who you are over time isn't who you continue to be.
Correct.
And things happen that can get in the way of that.
Right.
Can make you.
And it changes you.
Yeah.
It changes you.
Yeah.
There are often things that happen in your life that will really change your DNA. You know, and I lost both of my grandparents in the past 2 years. I'm not the same person.
No.
At all.
No. Yeah.
You're not the same person.
No. No.
Because we lost them, essentially.
Yeah.
We had kids. We've lost jobs. We've gotten jobs.
Yes.
We've bought a house.
Yes.
Listen, moving.
Yes.
You can survive that.
Right. I mean, if nothing else, right? So a lifetime is full of challenges and events.
Correct.
That help to shape you as an individual. And, you know, once again, ring the bell because I'm going to start talking psychology. The thing about good events and bad events is that they are both a type of stress. There's eustress, and then there's the other type of stress, which name I'm forgetting. But things cause stress on us, and that we change as a result of that stress, right? And you know, as we understand these events, I lost my train of thought there in the middle. I don't know what happened. What was I talking about?
What you were saying was that these events change who you are.
Yes.
And we have to be able to grow and change with those changes. So I need to be able to acknowledge that you're evolving, changing, and growing.
Yes.
And vice versa, basically.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so we need to be able to recognize that during these times, during these life-changing events.
Yes.
I'm not going to be like I was last week.
Yes.
And next week may be different.
Yes.
You know?
You totally caught me there. So where I was actually going, and that's true. I think having a curiosity for the other person, right? Having an awareness.
Right.
Because I could say that definitely in the different things that were happening in your life, also happening to me, you know, and we talked about our grandparents in the last episode, and then she brought it up today that we were speaking about them in the present tense, like when both of them recently have passed. Her grandmother, I think it's been 2 or 3 years.
It's been 2 years.
And then her grandfather passed this year.
Yeah.
And
right before COVID.
And that was, you know, definitely a big thing that happened to both of us.
Yeah.
And I will say that for me, there was a part of me that's like, those are her grandparents, and was using that to sort of emotionally distance myself
but
from
it hit you too.
That event. But then I'm in the funeral for her grandfather.
And so I wrote something, and you spoke what I read.
Yes.
What I wrote, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And it hit you.
Yes. No, I'm gonna set a scene here, because we're sitting in the back of the funeral of the church where her grandparents were. Yeah. And that's the church they attended.
Our family church, yeah.
Right. That was their family church. That's the church they attended when I first started dating Nicole way back. Was it our second?
It was our second date.
Our second date.
First date was a movie.
First date was a movie. No, first date was Frisch's.
Frisch's. Second
date was a movie. And then like third or fourth date.
Yeah.
Was I went to church with them so that their grandparents could essentially get to meet me, get to know me. So we're sitting in the exact same church, you know, 20 years later.
Right.
That I had gone to with them and met her grandmother, and her grandmother said something said something very inappropriate and made a joke that was wildly inappropriate about how attracted to the pastor the people in the women in the choir were.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, this lady's a ball buster. Like, and immediately remember feeling like she hasn't said anything off to me, but I should be aware that if she has feelings about me, she is not going to hide them, because she's just said something she shouldn't say. I'm company, right? Like this is the first time riding in their vehicle, anymore. First time going where they're going. You know what I mean?
You
like,
got in our car, you came to our house,
I'm a guest, and she's open with something anymore. That's completely ribald, and I'm like, oh, okay. So if this lady has feelings about me that are untoward, she will let me know. There will be no hesitation. It's going to happen, right?
Yep.
So we're sitting in this church where, you know, we had one of our seminal relationship moments, this early phase of our relationship. And we're back there, and her grandfather has passed. There are photos of him up front, and she says she has something to say, but she's not sure she could do it. And as we said earlier in this conversation, I'm a presenter. So if I get the opportunity to go up there, I'll go do this for you. Not a problem. I could say words.
Inconvenience.
Right. Barely an inconvenience. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. I'm going to go up there and say these words for you because I'm your husband and I love you. And I'm really good at speaking in front of people. Yep. So this is nothing.
Right.
Son of a preacher, right? I go walking up there. I see somebody over there. I shake hands with them. I'm like, I'm good. I go up there. I'm waiting for my turn. I'm scrolling through the phone with her notes in it. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I got this. And then I look out at the crowd and I'm at the mic and it's my turn. And I'm like, oh,
this is so real.
This is a funeral for a guy whom I loved.
Yep.
And at this point, realizing that I'm saying what are essentially the last words for him hits me like a ton of bricks because, and I think I say that in my speech, like I've been saying her grandfather passed, but I'm not realizing that he's been in my life at this point for 20 years.
Yeah.
22 years, right?
Yeah.
So and that there were many moments in my life where I went to their home and, spoke with her grandmother at a time in my life in my 20s where I really needed advice and I was trying to figure the world out. Went to him and asked for her hand in marriage. I had a relationship with him that I had not dealt with because I was trying to help my wife through her grief in losing someone that was so valuable and important to her. And it hit me like a brick. And so next thing I know, I'm crying while talking and trying to get through this speech that is very, I had it all in my head right before I got up there. And then the emotions came and I was not able to complete the speech without all that emotion being completely on the surface. And I got through it as best I could.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah. But it was heavy.
It
was very heavy. And then did the long, slow walk back to my chair. Like, I hope that made sense to anyone but me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I lost track right in the middle of it.
It did.
And it's interesting to me, once again, doing the thing where I think too much about it. It's like, you have these moments and, for the most part, we don't tape funerals. They're sad.
Yeah.
But often you're in this experience where people are saying some of the nicest things they'll ever say about a person. And it's sort of lost to time in that moment in amber that is this final goodbye.
Yeah, there is a part of you that wants to commemorate it or remember it or do you want to remember the words? But, it was a beautiful service. It was incredibly, incredibly hard. But we all came together. Your family came. The amount of support that we got was just enormous, and it was very beautiful. But I believe in everything that A. Jean Wiggins says when she says, "Bring me my flowers now."
Yeah.
Bring me my flowers.
A. Jean Wiggins is my grandmother, by the way. That's my mother's mother, maternal grandmother.
Right. She's granny.
Yes. She's 90 years old now.
Yeah. We're not calling her A. Jean.
We're not allowed to call her A. Jean to her face.
That's not what we do.
But in private conversation, we may speak frankly about A. Jean.
Well, just like sometimes we say Ethel, which is your mom.
Yeah. I say Ethel to Ethel sometimes because sometimes.
You do. And every time I'm like, she's going to smack him.
But sometimes she's being an Ethel.
That's not.
There are so many times where she's like being Ethel and you're like, lady, like. My mom doesn't act like this, but Ethel Hall, she acts like this.
Well,
stop being so Ethel.
Gammy does what she wants.
Gammy be overstepping.
Gammy definitely overstepping.
Gammy be overstepping.
Whatever they want, but I mean, quite honestly, the one thing that I think is beautiful about what your family does, the Wiggins, is that they have these birthday parties for her every year.
Yeah.
She lost a sister a number of years back. And I think what she said was that we should not be only getting together for funerals. And your grandmother, even though she's 90, she's very active. She moves around a lot. She's got some of your aunts to come and help her out. She still lives on her own in a house with her little dog Kush. And so every year, her birthday's in January, we go and we celebrate her birthday.
Not every year. There are some years where we celebrate the big ones in January, but because they're old, they say this, because they're old, we often have to celebrate half birthdays. So we end up going to West Virginia in June
for the family reunion. Birthday. Right.
We go for the family reunion, but also
for the
sometimes she calls us back for the half birthday.
Right.
And it's one of those things, old people with old Black family will just know when Granny says, I need you to come down for a thing, everybody's loading up in the car and you're going down for a thing in the weekend.
Yeah.
And if she tells you you're not having her birthday on a certain day because the weather's bad or whatever, then you're just moving it. There's no arguing with her or quibbling with about. There's no negotiation.
She's 90 years old. We're going to do what she asks.
We're going to do what she asks. And that's just going to be what it is.
Right. She lives in Charleston. Is that correct? West Virginia, which is 4 hours from here. 3.5 if you're racing the GPS. And she had us come for a half birthday for the China buffet. Right. And then she had us come again the next year for the what's the
actual
other
birthday.
buffet? What's the buffet? The other
Golden
buffet.
Corral?
Golden Corral. Yeah.
Yeah. We do not eat buffets normally.
We do not because they're gross.
They can be. I mean, sometimes they're great.
If you've ever heard Lillian Slaughter describe what the sneeze guards are for in a buffet, then you
develop an opinion on buffets.
You do. You do.
Not a pro buffet opinion.
As a parent with 3 kids that eat a lot of food, I could see
they
how
eat all the food.
$15 a pop. Let's just
they're home all the time now,
Yeah.
and they're just snacking away.
They're snacking their lives.
And you offer them real food, and they're like, "Nah, I got some chips." And you're like,
eating 100 snacks
food.
Because you haven't had a real dinner.
You're eating like 1,000 calories.
You
like,
are eating 1,000 calories
with your child metabolism. Just enjoy.
Right. And they're all just as their metabolism is great.
Right.
Richie and I are like quarantine 20.
Hey,
that love weight is.
Hey, it's
I
a
love
lot.
it. I don't care. You're beautiful, baby.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, so those things sort of change who you are. They inform who you become.
Oh, good. You remembered the original topic because I had lost my train of thought.
I did. It's my job.
Things happen in your relationship that change you over time.
Yeah, they do.
You got to be open to figuring out how the the other is.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, you have to have that curiosity, right? You have to at least care enough to say, you're not who you were.
Right, because we got to be an us.
How does this event change you?
Yes. Oh, God. And so this also brings me back to the point that I realized I was trying to make when I was talking earlier. One of my things is I'm a family systems psychologist. So the idea that a family is a system and that with each iteration, there is a need to evolve. Everything that happens to the relationship. So these 2 people get together, they decide to marry. Those 2 people are married for a while, then they decide to have a kid. They buy their first house. They have another kid. Each of those things changes and alters the relationship in a way. And if those 2 people don't keep coming together and having some overarching reason for being together, not just the I expect you to love me side of that, but also the we're in this as a unit for a thing.
Team.
If you don't develop that kind of team mentality, then it becomes very difficult to weather all those things because even the good and the bad are stress.
Right.
So you end up having to have some overall reason that you're doing what you're doing in the relationship.
Right.
And that could be religion. That could be just the idea of marriage. But there's got to be some fundamental, like, this is a core belief. We will not let
some
go of this.
Some foundation that you hold strong.
So this has to remain unconditional.
Right. What would you say your foundation is?
Good question. Some of it's and it's typical with a lot of people our age. It's like you got into a marriage and no matter what, you want to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because you know how you've seen so many people get divorced.
Yeah.
That you're like, no, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
So you don't want to repeat the mistakes of your parents and your parents' generation.
Right. Or the people around you, because we have had people that got married around the same time we did. That
not everybody made it.
And it's incredibly sad because you never get married saying, this will be 3
nobody
years.
Nobody gets married thinking
this
is going to crash and burn spectacularly.
This is not going to go well.
Yeah.
Let's try it anyway.
Hey, and we callously bet against some of those couples. We were like, ooh, I don't know.
And, when young people do young things, we're like, I don't think these guys are going to make it. Some of them didn't. But some of them did.
Some of them did. Some of them defied our odds. It's a good thing we didn't bet in Vegas because we would have been wrong.
We would have been wrong a lot of the time.
Not you. Whoever's listening to this thinking that we were not betting against you. We love you.
We would never do
We
that.
would never.
We would never.
But there were other friends that we had who
Clutches,
had
pearls.
toxic relationships.
There are some that we all
those
know
couples that you would go to dinner with them. And it's always an argument. Ooh. And you as a couple are like feel in the like
I'm uncomfortable.
Wow.
This is not.
Wow. We just wanted to go out for a night and have a good time.
There's not enough tequila for this.
Right,
This is
right.
He doesn't drink, y'all, but
Right.
I mean,
Right,
wow.
right.
I'm not even hungry.
This is gonna be a long dinner. This is gonna be a long dinner.
We've had those dinners before. Where we've been
Everybody
invited.
knows those couples.
Everybody has been
That's
out
like-
with those couples, and they're fighting the entire time.
The entire time.
They're not sitting next to each other. It is
right.
the whole thing.
Or it's just like everything's an argument,
Yeah,
and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
like can he order his food
it's
though
just
without
an
it being an argument?
appetizer. Just
Right. We haven't even gotten to the main course yet, and y'all got beef.
this is gonna be a long night.
It's gonna be a long
It's
one.
gonna be a long
Mm.
night.
Batten down the hatches. We are having a long night.
Stumping up the street like somebody stole your bike.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, so we're doing this.
It's okay. So
All
we're
right.
doing this.
All right.
So yeah. So I think again, as far as relationships go, there's so many things that happen, and a lot of us can weather those storms. And a lot of times, you see those memes and questions where they ask, how did our grandparents and our great grandparents stay married for all these years? They went through these ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
They went through these ebbs
And
and flows.
it's hard to know on the outside what was going on inside a relationship or a marriage. Like you can see them from the outside and think, oh, they're
I think
fine
they're great
because they're still
but
together.
Yes.
But
yes.
every relationship has its ups and downs.
You have no idea of the inner workings. And quite honestly, it's none of your business.
None of your business.
None of your business.
You might think it is, but it's not.
But it's not. And I think that there are some inner workings that are meant to be private, that are meant to be worked
Absolutely.
through, just you and I.
Absolutely.
There are some things that, we can discuss with others that would be fun. We do have confidants. We do have family that we talk with.
Right.
Terry's your guy. Leah and Keisha are my girls.
Right.
Bridget and I, we always talk about just
Friend of the
being
show, Terry
married and
Huddleston.
kids and-
Friend of the show, Leah Huddleston. Yes.
Yeah. We love those guys.
They'll be on the show eventually.
They are our. It's always good to have a
Married couple friends. Hard to find married couple
Very
friends.
hard. They've
because
been
you
married
don't-
forever.
Yeah, because you don't interact with a lot of couples. But
No, and it's great because they love each other and they have their kids, and it is just we have a ball with them. I
Yes.
love them so much.
yes,
and
it's always hard to find a couple where you both get along.
yes,
They're
where
often
the husbands get together
Yes.
and the wives get get and
yes,
everything.
and everybody
is,
can have a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because there are many relationships where it's like, I'm really cool with the husband, but the wife does not like
so much.
not so much, and my wife does not like her, so or vice versa.
Where it's like the wife is great, but the husband
He's kind of cool, or he's dull, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And nice people, but
Right.
we're just not gonna be friends.
Right.
Right?
You don't want to hang out every weekend or like
Yeah,
we've
we're not gonna be kicking
traveled
it. We're not gonna be kicking
with
it.
them.
Yeah.
They come to our house. We go to their house. Every year we do an alternating New Year's Eve.
Yes.
We love those guys.
We
But
love them a
yeah,
ton.
It
We've
is
spent
great
every
to
New Year's
have
Eve with them for the last it's been a decade
10 years.
or
Yep.
more. What is this,
Yep.
2020? So
Yeah.
I don't know when we started doing it, but it had to be like 2009, 2000.
Yeah. 2010. Yeah.
We got
Rob was
married
a
in
baby.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So we met
feel like-
them right before we got married. They came to our bachelor and bachelorette parties.
but not the wedding. Whole
they
nother
weren't
story.
able to. Yeah, they have con season is from
They're artists.
Yeah,
and
so con season
and
is
they
from
do
April
comic
to-
book
yeah,
conventions
right,
as their career. That's how they make their money.
Right.
So they had a convention the weekend of our wedding, and so even though they've been seminal to this relationship, they
Yeah.
were not there on the day of our wedding.
right.
And I
right.
occasionally make fun of him for that, for choosing his money over.
Well, they had to
Or-
figure out which weekend they were gonna.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they picked the fun weekend,
Right. They did the fun weekend, which is a whole nother story.
which is a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna pick a wedding versus a bachelor party, I mean,
the
okay, so my
wedding's the
bachelorette party
Yeah. We're not going to
was-
go down. Oh my God! So
That's a
one day
whole
we'll tell
nother-
the story of the bachelor party. It was pathetic.
it was pathetic.
I've never heard a story of someone who had like an epic bachelor party outside of a movie. I always hear the stories of people who there's always complications and things, and so I guess I should have.
I don't know what you're complaining about. Bridget did a great job.
Oh, yeah, bachelor parties, man. Bachelor parties. Anyway, so we've come around to the 30-minute mark. We do need to take a break. We're going to stop and take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with more the Hallspace Podcast. we're back.
Hey there.
So,
as we were discussing,
we were talking about the changes that a relationship goes through, and how those are opportunities to evolve, essentially, and that there are people who stagnate during those changes. I don't know if I said this before, where they just don't pick up or change or alter themselves. And I will tell you that that's a fundament for me in essentially developing yourself as a human being. Always have these areas of flexibility. Right. When you get rigid, when you are unbreakable, that's when the unbendable. Yep. That's when you're likely to break something else.
Can we stop? I would like to say that I like how you worded that. Opportunity to evolve, as opposed to change is hard. Yeah. You know, it is.
Change is hard.
Change is hard, but I think part of, evolving, changing, moving, that the way that you see it, the way that you speak it, the way that you speak it to others, makes a difference. I am a very strong believer in speaking positivity into yourself and to others. And when you say opportunity to evolve, that sounds great, right?
Yeah. If you take it, because some people don't take the opportunity.
Some people don't. Yep. Some people don't. Oh, you lost that job. You got to find another job. Well, it's an opportunity to get a better job and make more money. And I am saying that as a person who lost their job.
Who's lost quite a few jobs.
A lot of layoffs. A lot of, IT is rough during certain times. Yeah, exactly. And so there are times where they'll just lay the whole department off because, we
not making enough money.
We don't generate revenue, we actually take revenue, and if they don't see that as a value,
generating revenue is an interesting concept when you're talking about the person who keeps the websites running. Like
it is. How else are you going to put money into your bank account?
Right,
via the website.
Right,
who does the website?
Well, the IT people, I assume.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, but also they might be unnecessary. And I'm really trying to give the stockholders just a little bit more money this year. So I got to get rid of this whole department.
Right.
And cut. They're all gone.
Scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are companies that value that, or they understand that. And there are companies that do not. But yeah, there definitely has to be a mentality that says, okay, this is an opportunity for growth. It's not always easy when you lose people, or your kid is sad, or you get a diagnosis that isn't something that you expected, or whatever. It's very hard to kind of see the silver lining. But one of the things I believe that helps is being able to try to find a way to get the best out of that situation. And I know that's very pie in the sky. Well,
it's the idea that everything is an opportunity to learn. Right?
It is.
Even the worst thing that's happening to you, there's something in it that could be a lesson.
You're supposed to grasp,
or can be grasped from it. And that more often than not, the people who are the most what we call resilient, or who can handle or cope with most things that happen in life, are the people who take a certain attitude towards stress or events.
Right.
And often it's that, what can I learn from this? What can be gleaned from this? What are the things in my life that I can still value while traversing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're able to do that, then it doesn't mean it's not devastating. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, and that you're not going to need to grieve the events, but you are able to, once again, have that greater purpose to push through, as opposed to feeling overwhelmed and pulled under by the events.
Right.
And as we said before, when we're talking just about like a marriage or a relationship, having that sense of, I'm doing this for a greater purpose. This isn't always, I always say the relationship cannot be just an I. It is very hard to navigate a relationship with more than one person if you're focused only on the I, because the ego is the death of a relationship, because now I just want what I want, and I'm not thinking collaboratively or cooperatively with the other person.
Right.
And so you have to sort of, if I'm only doing it for me, then I'm going to fail. If I think I'm only doing it for you, I'm going to fail. It has to be a we. It has to be
definitely has to be
a sense of we are both in this together.
Yeah.
And we have to value what that means for the both of us. And so I think it becomes very important when you're thinking about the things that you go through, to develop an awareness of what's this mean for both of us, not just for me. What does this mean for you?
And keep that perspective.
Yes, maintain that perspective. Absolutely.
And I will also say that having kids enhances that perspective for us, because we often have to remind them that we are a team.
Yes.
You spoke to telling one of the kids to clean the room, and they said, well, I didn't mess it up. And it's like, well, we're a team. I clean up your mess all the time. We are actively working together to get this house in order for a party. Whatever.
Once again, there is no I.
Yeah, there's no I in team. We've heard that before, but honestly, we want them to learn to do things for each other. I think kids innately know to survive for themselves. And you teach them as they grow up to think of the people around them, to think of their siblings, to think of us, to think of their friends and things like that. And
yeah. Empathy is an interesting concept in children. They have some capability of it, but they have a limited awareness.
Yes.
Or limited in their application of it. And so as a result, they often don't necessarily see all the ways they're supposed to be the most empathetic.
Right. And honestly, for kids, a lot of the time it's pointing it out, right? Especially for Ra. You point it out to him, he's got it. He's like, okay, this is a thing. All right. He puts it in his cap, and he's, it's in his list of things now.
Yeah.
It's in his repertoire, if you will. And so, and that's the same for Daniel as well. The older that they get, the more things that you point out to them, the more that they learn and they adapt.
Yeah.
And so it's more about kind of how you point it out to them, right?
Yeah. Well, how do you help them sort of expand their awareness of,
without sounding super critical, right? I mean.
Because they are very sensitive criticism kids.
And
as we all are, all humans are.
We are, and we're new age parents, right?
As we talked about before.
We talked about that before. We
do a lot of talking with them.
We do, and
a lot
we
of
listen.
trying to get them to understand,
and we want
things.
to listen. Yes, and we want them to really understand why we're asking them to do what we're asking them to do.
Yes,
because that is how you develop a level of empathy, right? I remember being a kid, and there were so many things that are like, well, we just know. I mean, and
feeling like you were constantly being told no.
You were feeling
or limited in some ways.
You were limited, and that, I always felt like you were saying that I was a trash kid because my id got away with me, and I didn't know that was a bad thing necessarily. I was just sort of doing what a kid naturally does.
Yeah.
And so I think.
So the idea of feeling like chastised or feeling wrong, feeling like you were wrong just by virtue of being a child, not that. And maybe, for many of us, it wasn't always explained to you the what and the why. There was no room for the what and the why things were happening. Our parents didn't always have the awareness, they weren't always educated in like child psychology or anything like that. So they were very much with what they had. Yeah. They would just sort of they knew kids were expected, once again, seen, not heard.
Yep.
We all know those old adages.
Do what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah. No questions.
Right.
No back talk. A lot of things were back talk, even if it was just seeking to understand.
Right.
It's like, I don't understand what's even going on. And it's like, well, you're not, I don't need to explain nothing to you.
Right. And you know what? Honestly, I understand that at times. Listen,
oh my God, as a parent,
I don't have time to answer 100 questions.
This to you.
Go get what I asked you to go get.
Right.
Victoria is queen of 100 questions.
Right.
Go get it now.
Right. Please move along.
Please. Right. I'll explain to you later. Because some things aren't as important to explain.
It's like
because she questions everything. Let's just be clear about that. Right.
Which on the one hand, it's like, it's good that you're curious. On the other hand, it's like, please move. Like I've told you to do a thing, please.
I've got 100 things to do.
Right. We're in motion. I mean, and that talks about sort of the war between old school parenting and new school parenting that we touched on last time, but definitely is a thing we are constantly struggling with because we trying our so hard to be new age parents, but these old default settings are in us
They're
from
just there.
the way we were parented.
Because they're natural instincts as a parent.
I think they're natural if you were raised a certain way.
Yes.
And some of it's natural human, like, hey, something hurt you, now you want to attack it. Some things are, but they're, because we were raised a certain way, we're like, there are many times where my son speaks to me in a way that I'm like, hey man, you're being mad disrespectful right now.
That would have got you smacked across the room.
But that's the parent who parented me that lives in my head, being like, smack him in the face for talking to you like that.
Yeah.
He's disrespecting you.
Yeah.
In a way
let him talk to you like that, son.
Right. Who do you think he is? Who does he think he's talking to?
Is he talking to?
Whom do you think you are speaking with? Because I ain't one of your little friends, right? Right. But the idea that, we've decided to parent differently. And as a result, we end up having to, like, you have to do this double take. Like, oh, wait, no, do not act on instinct because the instincts might be bad.
Yes.
And we're also trying to teach them to not act on instinct. So one of the things I think it is key, like we talked last time about not beating our children, is because you're trying to teach them that problem solving. They can't go hitting their problems throughout life. So you got to learn to
my boss.
Oh my God, as much as you might want to. And we are not speaking about any particular boss.
We're not.
All of our current bosses are great people
that are awesome people.
Yeah.
I would never want to smack my
But that isn't to say that over the span of our lifetime, I've never had a boss that needed to get chin checked.
In all the years that I've ever worked that you wanted to pile drive. That's
right.
Yeah.
Right. Put it in a headlock and fall with him. But is Wayne Brady gonna have to? Yeah. Real talk. But so the idea of learning how to check their emotions, learning how to be resilient in the face of adversity and stress, and how do they manage? We are very big on that.
Yes, we are.
And as a result, we very much sort of try to teach them, oh, you're feeling feelings, huh? Well, first, let's take a time out. Let's figure out what's going on.
What these feelings mean.
There are times where they might we never get upset with them for getting upset.
Right.
It's, you cannot cross a line. So the fact that you're upset,
but what you're not going to do is throw stuff.
Right. You're not going to hit your brother. You're not you can't slam my doors in my house.
Yes.
Like there are ways.
Slamming doors, boy.
Yeah. That like, once again, those are things that trigger the parent in us.
Door.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing we don't do. And I can't say that every time. I mean, I sound very new age on this podcast.
No. But there are times where we're like, hey, you better get your girl. You better get your boy.
Get your girl.
I'm tapping. This is me tapping out.
Get your boy. One of the key things that allows our marriage to continue with these kids in it is the tap out. I can't do this with this person anymore. Right. I need you to step up and help me with them. It is
your turn. Right. And we started it way when we had Ra.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ra is now 10 years old. We had him in 2010 and beautiful baby boy. Oh my gosh. So adorable. But
most gleeful kid when he's happy.
Right. But he cried a lot. He didn't have colic, but he was colic-like. Right. And what he wanted when he was a baby was to be held while you were standing up.
Yeah.
And so on Everything I Love, if you sat down on the couch or you laid down with him, he would cry.
Yeah.
But if you stood up, he was okay.
Yeah.
If you sang, he's okay. If you stood up with him and you sang. And so there's only so many hours of that I could do.
Yeah.
And Richie, recognizing that I was at my breaking point.
Right.
He said, do you need to tap out? Here, take this baby. I'm gonna go. This is me out. I'm out. And we're at the Butler College. So it's living room, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, kitchen. So 1 floor.
1 floor, 4 rooms.
Yes.
Right.
And
a basement. But
so you couldn't miss the cries. You couldn't miss the screaming.
There was nowhere to go.
go.
Way back in the Butler College days. So
yeah.
And
so we do that even now.
Yeah. And it's not to say that I was like one of those dads who was like not involved and engaged. Like first kid was definitely on my game very much.
Yeah.
I almost dropped out of graduate school just to be a house husband.
Well, you were a stay-at-home dad for all of the kids.
Not Victoria.
You were.
Was I?
You were.
Was I? Because I feel like I was in. I was
home
also,
a lot for Victoria.
I was doing my dissertation and stuff by then.
You were.
Yeah.
But you guys would hang out and you're like, she's spitting up on me all day. She's singing the song of her people.
Yeah, she did sing the song
because
of
I
her
had to
people.
go back to work.
Yeah, but I wasn't home all the time. Like I was.
It's a blur.
Richie was the one I was the most home with.
Yes.
Daniel was kind of in the middle. I was home sometimes with him, but not as much because I feel like I missed a lot of Daniel growing up.
Yeah.
And Victoria, I got a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But then,
well, she was in the NICU for 30 days, and then you came.
Yeah.
You were able to, your schedule was.
Oh, that's right. Because I was a contract person. So yes.
Right.
Yes. I was able to spend a lot more time with her because I could schedule when my clients were.
Right. So you would schedule it for when I would get off of work, basically.
Yes.
So you would spend the day with her.
Yes. And I could go back out in the evening.
And she was just so little when she came home. We weren't ready to send her to the babysitters or anybody, else. And so you've been home for each of the kids for a good amount of time.
In some capacity.
Yeah. But there's always been what we call the tap out. And so you would be home all day and I would come home and it was my turn. You tapping out. That's it. I've been with this screaming baby all day.
Right.
And again, all three of our kids are different. Some kids are easier than others.
In some capacity.
In some ways.
There's usually some aspect of them.
Yeah. So Rob right now, he's 10. He could be in this house and you wouldn't know.
For hours until he wants something.
Until he needs something or wants something.
He will scavenge for his own food.
He will make his own Kool-Aid.
He's like a rodent. He like rips into bags of things and tears open boxes of things just to get to it. You're like, hey, who left a ferret in the house?
Sorry, Daddy.
Leaves my bread open. Like this bread's stale if you leave it open. And
he made his own sandwich.
Yeah, which on the one hand,
me.
Yeah, which on the one hand I'm all for because she's working and I'm doing other stuff and maybe I'm working.
Yeah.
Feed yourself, but also clean up after yourself.
He does clean. It's just not to the standard as an adult.
It's not I don't think it's to a human standard. Like he barely. I do remember that flashback. I do remember being a kid and you'd go get your cereal, walk away. Your mom comes in and flips out like, who didn't spill cereal? And you did not notice. Like I did not notice as a child that I was making such a mess. And then be like, why is she so upset? Like I made my own cereal. I didn't bother her.
She's so crazy.
But also I was a mess.
You were a messy Marvin in the words of your mama.
Right.
And you owe your parents an apology. I owe my parents an apology.
Right. Once again. And so I will say ding, ding, ding. Once again, ring the bell. That's one thing about parenting is to always sort of stop and check the child and yourself.
Yeah.
And like, why are they doing this? Why, like when I'm getting upset with him, I remember being in these situations where she's upset and yelling. My parents are upset and yelling. And I'm like, but I didn't know I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes with him, I'm like, hey, buddy, you dropped that. Could you just go back and clean that up?
You're so much better at that. If I go around this house, I am losing it. Okay? All the way. Capital I, capital T, losing it. I mean,
well, isn't that in part because it's your work, right? Like you've done, so in the division of labor in this house, I am a spot cleaner. I will keep an area that I'm working in
top
efficient.
To bottom.
And she is the person who comes through and does like this whirlwind. Everything is back and straight in its place.
Yes.
So my version of things will leave things cluttered to some degree because I need these pans. So I'm going to leave them where I can get to them again.
No.
She's going to make sure everything gets into the cabinets and the counters are wiped off and the floors
are clean,
hand mopped,
light switches with fingerprints, all that stuff.
Right. I don't do that. I just keep the machine going.
Bottom.
She actually does the full.
I do the full on. And don't get me wrong. I am a messy Marvin as well.
Oh my God.
I am the worst. I am the worst. I am messy like our kids are messy. But
flashback story. We were married a couple of years. I went to New York City for a weekend, like 4 days.
New Year's?
For a conference. No.
Oh.
No. We way back in our early. That was way back in Paradise Lane.
That's right. Okay.
The Paradise Cove.
First house.
Yes, first house, Paradise Cove.
Yeah.
We refer to our houses by names as if they're like important places. So we lived on Paradise Lane, so that was Paradise Cove.
On the west side. Yep.
Our second house was Buffalo Cottage because it was on Buffalo Avenue.
Buffalo Lane, yeah.
House doesn't exist anymore. Whole other story.
Street doesn't
They
exist.
knocked that house down. The rich kids knocked that house down and made a field house where our second house used to be.
Crazy. Seven Hill School.
Third house was on
Hereford.
So we called that the Hereford Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Hereford Mansion. Yeah, because it was also the biggest house we'd ever lived in. Yeah. As we said, we came from Buffalo, which was 3 houses.
Three.
Yeah.
4 rooms.
Right.
Yep.
So if you hear us referring to that, you'll know that's us referring to the houses we've lived in.
Based on the
so way back in Paradise Lane, way back in Paradise Cove, I went to New York and I come back from New York and she says to me, while you were gone, I lived like a hermit. This house was a disaster up until 5 minutes before I went to get you from the airport. And she said, I was wondering why there were always like cups and food and plates everywhere. And she said, it was like, is there a magic elf that takes these things away normally? What she didn't know was that in the first 2 years of our marriage, I just learned somebody's got to be responsible for making sure these plates get to the sink.
Stuff up.
Yeah.
I learned nothing.
She's learned nothing in the past 12 years. She is still the person who so my side of the bed, I'm not saying it's the cleanest side of the bed. Like I said, cluttered. But I use the same water bottle all day.
He does.
And so it goes up and down stairs with me. I have 2 water bottles. So sometimes one gets left in the bedroom and one's left in my office.
I use all the cups.
She uses all of the cups. So her side of the bed is like this little city of cups and glasses and water bottles.
There's a cup for water.
Tupperware containers.
Wine. There's dinner.
Fast food containers.
Lunch. There's all these
forks
things.
And knives and spoons.
But let me...
It's its whole civilization over there.
But let me defend myself.
Sure.
No one cleans my mess but me.
Right.
I clean my whole mess.
Yes.
And I disinfect. And I clean those dishes.
Yeah.
I take them downstairs. Yeah. And then not only do I disinfect my own mess, I disinfect your mess and his mess and Daniel's mess and Victoria's mess.
Yes.
Top
As
to bottom.
Said, she does the top to bottom.
I do all of it.
Yes.
So when I make a mess, I don't feel bad about it.
Right.
Because I am going to be the person that cleans it up. And let me also note, it annoys me as well.
Right.
Why I got to use so many cups?
Why do you have to use so many cups?
Listen, therapize me. Okay, I don't understand it.
Why do you need to use all the cups?
Why can't you take
them? Why can't you remember to take them down like every day? If I eat something,
because I'm already moving downstairs, and there's already a cup down there. If I go back upstairs, then I have to clean the cup and get another.
No. When you know you're going downstairs, you take the cups with you.
No, all of them.
No,
like right now. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, God.
It's a lot of them. I really just want some water right now.
No, when you're going downstairs, I have 1 water bottle. So if I'm going downstairs, the water bottle comes with me.
That's not what I went downstairs for. If I'm coming back upstairs,
the water bottle's coming up with me. If I got a cup of fruit right here, the next time I walk downstairs, I'm going to either do it then, or when I come back up, I see this cup of fruit again. It's the cup's going downstairs.
See, I don't think you understand how tasks work in my brain.
I apparently don't. You want to help me understand? Help me understand how tasks work in my
room, and I had dinner last night, and I had coffee this morning, and I'm having wine right now, right? And I go downstairs.
In another cup.
Yeah, in another cup.
A completely different cup than any of the other cups she used. Yeah. She's also drinking coffee out of I'm sorry, she's drinking wine out of a coffee cup right now.
Because my wine cups are dirty.
Are they also dirty beside your bed?
They absolutely are.
Okay.
That's not the point.
Okay. I feel like that is the point.
That is your point?
That is the whole point. Right there. That is the whole point. Is the cups and their life that they take on at the bedside. So in my mind, this is how I'll tell you how it works for me.
In your mind.
In my mind. And I'm not saying, and I give you stuff about it, but I'm not going to say you have to be this way because we've survived as a marriage for 12 years because
I do eventually clean it up.
Right. But I will say that in my mind, if I use the thing, it goes down with me the very next time I go downstairs. If not the next time, then the time right after that. Like within the day, I'm taking this thing to its next location because it doesn't belong here. And I'm not saying I was always that way, but definitely in this marriage.
Well, you've got Ethel in your head.
Yes, I do have Ethel living in my head.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, Ethel was no different than Lillian. But
it's not your thing.
It's not my bag.
Not your bag. Once again, 2 people have they were raised differently. They had different parents. And so the parent that lives in their head is often the parent that parented them, right?
Yeah.
So Nicole's got her grandmother living in her head. I've got my mother and my father. And for different things, they are different. Like, this is a thing that triggers me. This is a thing that triggers her. For me, dishes is a big one because Ethel did not play about dishes.
So here's the interesting thing. So for you, it was a big deal to have dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
And it was for my grandmother as well, right? So what my brother and I would do, my mom, my brother, and I, we would eat dinner at the table.
Mm-hmm.
But my brother and I would save half of our dinner
Mm-hmm.
so that we could eat in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we did.
Uh-huh.
And so we would clean all of the other dishes, the pots, the pans, clean the floor. So the kitchen is pristine when we left it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would take our snacks, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would save those items
Mm-hmm.
so that we could watch the same movie over and over and eat in front of it. That's a very specific. I like to eat and watch something good, preferably something I've seen before.
Yeah.
That's something that my brother and I do, or we did often, all the
Mhm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that I enjoy doing now. And so for me, you know, the kitchen, the kids have eaten, Richie's eaten, we've cooked dinner. I don't eat until they're all like away and
Mhm.
done, because I like to eat watching something cool uninterrupted, which
Yeah.
is very hard to do with little
Yeah, it's impossible.
ones. It's nearly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to wait till they fall asleep, which it's fine for me.
Yeah.
It's something I noticed my grandmother did. She never ate dinner when we ate dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually remember seeing her eat a lot,
Mhm.
actually, because she probably waited until we were out of her hair,
Yeah.
you know, to eat. And so I'm very similar in that way. And so, so that's how you kind of accumulate stuff on the side of the bed, and you have to hide it, because it's like you cleaned the kitchen, so the dishes should all be cleaned and away, but the stuff by your bed, I mean, she
I'm
wasn't
just
always
saying,
coming
remember
upstairs.
to take it down when you come down. That's the
I would
that's the
do
fundamental.
that, but I
Like, so
don't do
the
it
other-
on
the
your
other-
timeline. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You don't do it on your timeline.
I don't
You just
do it
said
on
you
my
get on your
timeline.
own nerves about it.
I do. I
Yeah.
do, because I don't understand why I need 42 cups. I
Right.
don't need
You
them.
don't need 42 cups.
I could really just rinse it out. It's coffee. It's
Right.
coffee. It's
Right.
coffee. It's coffee.
Right.
Or water. I have a water bottle.
Right.
I bought a water bottle.
Right.
But, you know, sometimes I just don't feel like it.
I have a water bottle that I walk around the house with.
No, that's not true. You have two.
I have 2 water bottles that I walk around the house with.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do. But your water bottles are different than mine.
Uh-huh.
I like to flavor my water.
I don't do that.
So
It's
It's
water. It
not
doesn't need a
as
flavor.
easy
It should
as-
taste like water.
rinsing it out.
Yeah. Nicole doesn't drink water. She's one of those people. Doesn't
I-
drink water.
So I do drink water.
Do you drink water? As just water. Okay. I will clarify. Well,
Let's be
actually,
clear.
I drink
Actually-
water in other drinks. Nicole does not drink plain water.
So
She prefers things with a
anytime-
flavor in it. It is often bland. She just adds flavoring.
Yes.
And there could be flavoring such as like lemon or lime.
lemon,
or
lime, and a
those
splash
flavor-
of Mio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those flavor,
Flavor
providers, which do have a
syrups.
little bit of sugar in them.
Right.
I
I don't like a ton of sugar, but I do like a dab
flavor
of it.
to her water.
Right,
Which makes
right,
it not
right.
water.
So I say things, and Richie, when he feels the need to further clarify, will often say, well, actually.
She
that's-
loves to get me on the well actuallys. And we've been around each other a lot in quarantine, so I've been getting a lot of well actuallys.
Well, because it's like, you know what I'm trying to say, but he likes to say things in a very concrete and specific way. I feel like that's the...
Well, no, I wouldn't say concrete and specific. One thing about me definitely is what I'm doing it now, aren't I?
Actually,
Yeah.
you're specifying even further.
I'm specifying further. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm actually not that concrete. That's one thing that you
You're
might
not, which
notice
is
in this
interesting.
conversation. Or in any conversation with me for a long enough time, you'll learn like I try not to make declarations. I speak in a very confident tone, but I'm definitely not gonna say concrete things. I'm usually like equivocating a million and one things. Well, under these circumstances, this is this, and I guess under that. I mean, so we have to
Yeah.
consider
You could be
how
often
this
gray.
is something and something and something. So it's like, oh, there's probably layers to this. So when I'm well actuallying, it's just sort of mansplaining the important, what I think are details. Once again, as I said very early in this conversation, I'm a hair autistic. So you say a thing that's like a generalization, and then I'm like, let's drill down into what we're actually talking about, as opposed to anything that can be generalized, because generalizing is mythological. There's nothing concrete to a generalization.
And
so
I'm
let's make
perfectly
sure
okay with generalizing.
she's totally okay with it in a way that I'm like, ooh, well, we can't say that because technically
you understand what I mean, right?
I mean, I understand you, but I don't want you to be wrong. I want you to be better for the future.
You want me to be better
for the future.
Mm.
So let's consider the variables in which what you said could be true, but also could be completely wrong. You're wrong.
Or
just accept being wrong.
Or
what?
What? Mm.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, so we've rounded the bend on an hour and 4 minutes.
We have.
Yeah. So
it's about that time, huh?
It is about that time. You know what the music means.
Yeah. I said good day, sir.
I said good day. Oh, wait, we should actually say, we're going to wrap up. And then
say it.
This has been episode 2.
Thank you for joining us for episode 2.
Yes.
You know what the music means?
You know what the music means.
I said good day, sir.
I said good day. The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found on our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspace@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.